Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, let us continue on with our exploration, our journey through the Criterion Collection new releases for this year of 2020. And today, I'd like to share with you some thoughts that I have with respect to Criterion's release of the film by Jean Renoir from 1935. This is released by Criterion on spine number 1040. And the name of the film is TONI. The film being released in 1935, a black and white sound film directed by the great film artist Jean Renoir. This is the French film TONI. And TONI is a film that is encompassing many things. Perhaps in terms of its story, at its essence, we have the character of TONI, the Charles Blavet character, and his interactions with particular people in this location, this town, this working class environment, and in particular women and the love relationships that are engendered from there and the results thereof, and how those are played out both in terms of very realist tones that might be described by many film scholars, I think quite aptly, as being somewhat precursors of the neorealism movement in cinema. So there's a sense of realism on the one hand, which is to do in a large part with the way the film is made, in terms of locations, in terms of the participants in front of the camera, in terms of how sound was recorded, and the like. So there's a sense of realism that propels the story forward, essentially this human drama that is also a love story and also has elements of tragedy to it, which leads me to the other part, the other main element of this film. While this film has tones and anchors in the realm of, let's call it, realism as expressed in cinema, it also expresses a very lyrical, poetic, cinematic style by Renoir, and the camera work that is employed, and we should point out the camera work by Claude Renoir as well here. So there is the sense of the camera movement, the way characters weave in and out of the frame in a very inventive way that Jean Renoir is very famous for, the way that certain movements of camera from left to right or right to left, laterally so to speak, give rise to very specified framing. But it's not just the lateral movements, there's also depth of camera, depth of image, foreground and background, that gives us the pastoral, if you will, but also the intimate and interpersonal that lead to the various strands of narrative with regard to the main character of TONI and all the characters that surround him and that are involved with him in one form or another. So this is all to say that I think this film encompasses both a style of realism and also a style of heightened poetic cinematic a lyrical style. Some might even call it quite operatic, and I think those sorts of descriptions are very apt because the story is also very laced with this kind of heightened passion and drama, which I think can be described as being very operatic. and thus very much heightened cinema. So we have realism and then heightened cinema, and many of those tones are blended almost imperceptibly in this film, which therefore makes this film, I think, a very fascinating example of Jean Renoir's wonderful filmmaking technique, and also the humanism, but also the cinematic dynamism as well, that is the way it's weaved together is brilliantly imperceptible. And I mean that in strongly complementary terms, because I don't think it's very easy to have a film that can encompass these two seemingly almost antithetical tones, or at least tones that are very different from one another. It's very difficult, I think, to have a film that encompasses these seemingly different tones, but encompass them in a way that makes them not react against each other, but rather makes them wholly organic and integrate with each other. In other words, this is a wholly integrated work that carries, as I say, many different pulses and beats and styles. There is a sense of Jean Renoir, the artist, really acting out his cinematic sensibilities in terms of, as I say, framing and depth of field, and also the way things are woven in and out of frame, lighting and shadow, but also that is combined with the capturing, if you will, of some kind of real life lived-in experience. Some might call it a documentary or quasi-documentary style, given the location and the people involved, and the way that, as I was indicating before, a sound was recorded. And so this feels not like a studio shot film necessarily, but a film that is shot in real terms, in real life, as it were. So this combination of these dynamic positions lends itself very nicely to this story of TONI and the people, in particular the women that he encounters here, because as you know from the story, for those of you who've seen it, there is a certain dynamism involved with the ideas of the characters as they are presented, both in terms of the context of the pastoral or the environment, which can be sent to be part of the so-called real or the precursorily neo-realistic sensibilities of this film, and at the same time how this film portrays the real intimate and very inner workings of the human heart, and how it's beating throughout this film in ways that are very quiet and subdued on the one hand, but also very loud and very much with resonance and meaning and with consequence on the other. And so there is this heightened sense of human drama. Some might call it a cinematic experience of the human heart. Whatever the case may be, my friends, this example of Jean Renoir's work is a brilliant one, technically proficient, utterly brilliant in terms of sights and sounds as well, because sound is a key factor of this film, but also in terms of camera work, but also in terms of the cinematic presence, the eye of the filmmakers, and not just the eye in terms of technical craftsmanship, but the eye in trying to capture something of the human spirit, both the depiction of the human spirit in heightened poetic terms, but also the capturing of the human spirit in these grounded, quote-unquote, terms of realism. And that's what I think is so brilliant, one of the many things that's really brilliant about this beautiful, enthralling, and very passionate, and very emotional work that really lends itself into leading one to seeing a whole new world, a whole new side of things, but still being able to retain a sense of that which is understandable, because, as I say, it is still anchored in these very dynamically portrayed human emotions. This is the Jean Renoir film, the brilliant film that holds up so well today. This is the Jean Renoir film, TONI. So with that, my friends, let's go now to the Criterion Collection release, which is right here. The Blu-ray that I have here is, according to the materials, purported to be based off of a new 4K digital restoration, which looks really, really great. And so I think you'll be very impressed with this if you're looking for a nice presentation of this film. And this Blu-ray also comes with an audio commentary track. This audio commentary track is a pre-existing one, so it's not a Criterion Collection exclusive one. In fact, my understanding is that this is from the Masters of Cinema, earlier released from several years back. And so this is borrowed from that. So it's a pre-existing commentary track by Kent Jones and Philip Lopate. And so, in fact, they say at the very end, this is a commentary track for the Masters of Cinema. So at the very end, you can actually hear that. So it's a pre-existing one. But still, pre-existing commentary tracks are better than none at all. And you maybe know already of my own feelings about the use of pre-existing commentary tracks. I support that wholeheartedly if it means having a commentary track, because as you know, I'm a big believer in the importance and value of having commentary tracks by Criterion, who is, from the Laserdisc days, essentially the company that pioneered the use of commentary tracks to begin with. So to have something here is great. Kent Jones and Philip Lopate have a really great rapport. Sometimes not sometimes, but occasionally, every now and again, the commentary track does go into very heavy, almost esoteric descriptions of film criticism. And so if you are not necessarily versed in specifics of film critics and film criticisms with regard to this film, TONI and Jean Renoir, some of the references might be a little bit difficult, but that's okay too, because it's not all like that. In fact, I would say that that kind of esoteric reference making is very minor, and it gives way to the majority of these commentary track, which I think is very accessible, because they're talking about moments in the film that are really resonate with them. They're talking about, they have little details about Jean Renoir and what he is trying to do with each frame. How Jean Renoir is really being so inventive and creative when he's talking about the depth and what's going on in the foreground, the animals that you can see, and the way that shadows and lights are used, and close-ups, and that kind of technical craftsmanship of Renoir at work here in the film TONI, as well as hearing Kent Jones and Philip Lopate's reactions to the film. It's really wonderful because you can tell that these gentlemen really love this film. They really love and admire this film, and they know it pretty much through and through. So it's so great to have these two gentlemen take us on a tour, if you will, through their commentary track on this film TONI. So well done, Criterion, for including this with their release. I'm so glad it's there. It's very helpful. And even the more esoteric references to film criticism, I think, are really helpful, because that will hopefully lead people to trying to, for example, maybe look up those film critics, and maybe that'll lead to even more avenues of information and film appreciation, because, as I say, film cinema is very vast and very deep, but also the field of film criticism is also very, very vast and very fascinating, and there's so many great, sometimes not so great, but sometimes also really, really great examples of film criticism out there. And so it's nice to get a few names that are dropped here in the commentary by these two great and it's super intelligent film scholars and experts on Jean Renoir and this film in particular. So that's the audio commentary. Then the Criterion supplements continue on with a brief 2-minute introduction from 1961 by Jean Renoir himself. So it's wonderful to see him explain, again in brief introductory terms at least, aspects of this film TONI. So that's also included. And then, speaking of Jean Renoir, we have another supplement which is from 1967. And this is from Cinéastes de Notre Temps. And this is a portion of that which is itself titled Jean Renoir, Le Patron, La Recherche du Relatif. And this is a very wonderfully long, almost interview/documentary from, as I say, the late 60s. This particular episode, if you will, is directed by Jacques Rivette. And you can actually see Jacques Rivette appear in some of the interview portions that are included in this. This is quite robust and long. It's about an hour and 38 minutes, which is really great. We see Jean Renoir and various situations of him being interviewed. We also, of course, in that process, we hear his comments about film, cinema, his own, others, art in general, the approaches, the philosophies as expressed and done in a very friendly, almost wonderfully and so charmingly mild-mannered approach in his explanations and his comments. And interspersed throughout these various interviews held in different places over a given period of time, we have examples from his early period of filmography, including some clips and some discussion of the film TONI. So this is, I think, really wonderful. It's so valuable and so beneficial for all of us. And we're so fortunate to be able to have clips like this, to hear Jean Renoir speak about his work, and not just that, about the state of French art and many other things. So it's wonderfully robust. So this is an hour and 38 minutes approximately. Cinéaste de notre temps. Again, well worth it if you can check it out. And then to round out the supplement, we have a new 2020 making of the Jean Renoir film TONI, a sort of a visual essay / making of documentary. And this is written by, or credited as being written by Christopher Faulkner, a Jean Renoir expert, and also performed or narrated by Jen Cohn. So it's about 25 minutes, and what this is the making of. So it's a visual essay with photos and the narration, which is a presentation of the events and circumstances in Jean Renoir's career leading up to the making of TONI, and the production history, and many things are mentioned here. Pagnol is mentioned here, of course. The run-up to his making specific decisions about utilizing locations, trying to free himself from a studio-bound type of production in favor of what he ended up using for TONI, which is, in many ways, groundbreaking, and as well as being quite a memorable moment in the filmography of Jean Renoir. So this is all set forth in really wonderfully written and easy to digest terms in this making of visual essay / documentary. But that's not all. It also talks about the reaction of the film, what happened in terms of the editing of the film, and different versions, and the version that we know now that is known to exist and is the version that we have here. But there's some extra information about a different edit of the film and circumstances surrounding that. And so if you want to have more information about that, you can really get a nice taste of those circumstances and more in this Christopher Faulkner visual essay / documentary called The Making of Jean Renoir's TONI from 2020. Approximately 25 minutes. This is so helpful. It really gets into a lot of the nitty-gritty of what makes this film so memorable, so great, and so alluring even now. So this is a really fantastic supplement. It's one of the best supplements I've come across this year, in fact, from Criterion. So the Christopher Faulkner visual essay / documentary on the making of the film. And then we have the Blu-ray itself, which is here, and this is the back, and it has this nice gray, black, light gray tone with this picture here in the front. And I should say, according to the production credits, this is art director Sarah Habibi, Eric Skillman, illustration Catherine Lamb, designer Eric Skillman. And this is where I love the font, and I love this drawing, this depiction. As some of you may know, this is actually a very key moment in the film. It's one of the most famous, most celebrated moments in the film, and in fact, it's one of the most celebrated moments in Jean Renoir's entire filmography because of the importance and the sensuality, shall we say, of this particular moment. So it's perfect. What a perfect cover art. I think it's really great. And then we have the insert, which is inside here, and it's one of the fold-out types. And this is nice because, of course, it has a continuation of this kind of artwork that we see rendered as a kind of continuation of the artwork from the main body of the case. So this is good. We also have one still here, one photograph, which is also very good as well. It's a fold-out type, and so maybe you know of my, how should I put it? I have a preference over the fold-out types. I really prefer the stapled versions of the inserts, and so I wish they could have had a stapled version of this. However, that being said, I think for a fold-out type of leaflet insert, I think this is one of the better ones. This is, in fact, one of the best ones I've seen. The reason is because this has not one, but two writings on it. And so it's good to have more than one writing. That's one of the reasons why I prefer the stapled booklets, because it allows for more writings. Here we have two writings, not one, but two. The first is TONI and Classicism, and this is by Jean Renoir. This is an article that is dated May 24th, 1956, and it's reproduced like so. 2 pages, so it's might be brief in terms of the amount, but it's a very valuable read indeed. So TONI and Classicism by Jean Renoir. And then on the other side, we have another essay, a contemporary one this time. And this is called A True Story Told by Jean Renoir, penned by Ginette Vincendeau. And so this is really, really great because it goes into more details about the film and the themes and the style. And of course, as we know, the themes and the style of this are intertwined and also so effective and very important. The title, A True Story Told by Jean Renoir, makes reference to the fact that this story is based off of real, true events that are now dramatized for purposes of making this film. And so this is also a very significant and very interesting aspect that makes this film, I think, stand out in the context of the overall filmography of Jean Renoir. So that's another reference. It's also mentioned in the other supplements that are included, the audio commentary track and the Faulkner visual essay documentary as well, and others. So you're going to get more information. You're going to get a lot of information from this release as a whole and from various places. So that's really remarkable. That and other bits of information, of course. So as you know, I'm a big champion and supporter of the essays. I think I strongly recommend anyone to read the essays of these Criterion and other non-Criterion releases, because they are usually very, very worth it. And this essay, this Vincendeau essay, is another great example of this. So, a wonderful job with this. I really enjoy this very much. And so that is the insert that comes with the release of TONI. So again, I think for a fold-out, I think it's a really good one. So I'm very pleased with that. And so it's part of, I think, an overall package that is really splendid and stellar. And once again, I should repeat, I'm so happy that we have a commentary track here. Would it have been nice if Criterion tried to make its own commentary track? Sure, of course. I would always like to see multiple commentary tracks. It's always valuable to have those sorts of things. But again, as I say, having a pre-existing one is better than not having any commentary track at all. So that is also very nice. And so, but we should just keep in mind going forward, for those of us in particular who are interested in commentary tracks, just to keep this in mind as we see future releases from Criterion. Hopefully the trend will turn in favor of Criterion-produced commentary tracks going forward. But again, I'm not quite sure. Maybe it has to do with production limitations during this age of 2020 and all that's happening in the world, as you know. So maybe there are limitations that cannot be overcome. So maybe there are some technical reasons for that. But still, Even with that, I am so pleased that we do have what we get, including the audio commentary, the Kent Jones Philip Lopate one, and accompanying this remarkable example of Jean Renoir's craft and care as a cinema poet, and also a humanism devoted artist. It's on display here so vividly and so remarkably. This is the 1935 film TONI. Okay, my friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you once again, as always, for your precious time, my dear friends. I really appreciate it. And cheers.